Hey, it's Tuesday at 2, Circle B Diecast here in Concord, North Carolina. So glad you've joined us as we're just having the time of our life talking NASCAR racing, talking fun. Oh my gosh, we're having a good time, that's for sure. And we're glad you have joined us. So, are we working or not? We're not. Just, it's on like that.
Okay, you should be good now.
No, it was like that before. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, they say they can hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you, but they
So y'all can hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. So here we go. This is live. And it's good. Okay, it's working good. Brandon says it's working good. That's it. All right. So, when you have an issue, you automatically assume that nothing is working. Well, it appears that my producer Kyle, his speakers are not working. Of course, we assumed nothing was working. I'm just glad I didn't say bad things about you people or anybody else. Did I? I don't think I did. I think we're all right. Absolutely. Loud and clear. Oh, sounds good. It is Tuesday at 2. It is Circle B Diecast. We're here in Concord, North Carolina. Of course, you probably have heard me say that at least twice now already, and we're glad to join you to talk NASCAR racing. We can talk dirt track, sprint car racing, late model racing, whatever you want to talk about. And we also have race winning diecast. Chase Elliott won the race, so you know what that means. You know when Chase Elliott wins a race, they're going to make a diecast or two. And what that means is you've got to get your hands on it, that's for sure. What y'all think of the Atlanta race? I see Brandon is like, what a race. That is for sure. What a good race. And John says, how impressed were you with Corey LaJoie? And do you think Chase Elliott is now championship favorite? John, those are two great questions. I've done a couple of radio station hits for MRN, and those are two questions. Let's get right into them because I think they're the stories of this week. How impressed were you with Corey LaJoie? John, I was impressed with Corey LaJoie, but not surprised by Corey LaJoie. I have thought all along that Corey LaJoie is one of the best raw talented race car drivers that has come up through the ranks in years and years and years. I have thought that. I think what Corey, and I think a lot of people in the garage also believe that Corey LaJoie, raw talent skill-wise, is one of the best racers that we have. I think what happened on Sunday is two things. I think, first off, a lot of other people outside of the garage got to see that with him wheeling and dealing at the front of the field. And I think a lot of people noticed that, and a lot of people say it and say, well, Corey LaJoie's pretty good. I think the garage has known that Corey's been good for a long, long time. Here's where I believe Corey LaJoie maybe hit the home run for the ages. The way he handled the post-race. I went for it. I'm not apologizing. I sailed it on in there, and Chase did what he needed to do, and he threw the block, and I'd rather go for it, wreck, running for a win, than ride around and finish somewhere else. He did it very respectfully, very stand-up wise. He went stand-up. He was just a stand-up guy with it. He went to the victory lane and had a nice back and forth chit chat with Chase. I think Corey LaJoie hit a home run with the way he raced, and I think he hit a grand slam with the way he handled it afterward. And we don't know. You don't know how this business works. And I was talking, one of my buddies on the radio and I were talking this morning, and we were just talking about it. You don't know what team owner's sitting there watching that. You don't know what sponsor's sitting there. Maybe they're with a team that they're not happy with. Maybe the driver's done something that doesn't make them happy. And they're like, man, that LaJoie kid, I like the way he handled that. What about that Spire 17? You just don't know in this industry what has transpired. And when you look at the way Corey LaJoie handled that, I think that is huge. So yes, Impressed with Corey LaJoie, not surprised. I expect that out of Corey LaJoie. I really do. I expect him to get a good opportunity to run up front, and when he does that, he's going to be winning races. So yes. Second part of your question, championship for Chase. I don't think 3 weeks ago I had anybody that I thought was a favorite to win the championship. Maybe Ross Chastain pointing his way to Phoenix, assuming he doesn't make too many enemies. I'm starting to change that now with Chase Elliott. Okay? Win at Nashville, second place finish at Road America, win at Atlanta. Chase has got that car rolling. They are performing well, and it's multiple disciplines. You've got an intermediate track, you've got a road course, you've got a super speedway. Now, there's no super speedways in the playoffs. We understand. No, is there? Yeah, there is. There's Talladega. I'm wrong. There's Talladega. You've got a road course with the Roval, and you got a bunch of intermediate tracks. I really like where Chase is at right now. Now, we're still 7 or 8 weeks from those playoffs happening, so they need to be able to maintain. But right now, on this day, what is today's date? The 12th? On the July 12th, the year of our Lord, 2022, I think Chase Elliott's got to be who you look at as a championship favorite. I don't think by a long shot, because what we've learned in 2022 is that just when you think you understand this, it's going to change. So I don't think it's by a long shot. But right now, I'm kind of with you on that, John. I'm kind of with you on it. So, exactly. Now, Eric thinks that Ross Chastain is coming to his own. I agree with you, Eric, on that. I'm not big on being critical of drivers. And first and foremost, I love Ross Chastain. I absolutely love him as a racer, and I love him as a guy to talk to him. They don't come any nicer. And I have never in my life driven a race car. So what happens when it comes to racing is I yield to people who have driven race cars. And I put a lot of stock in a guy like Jeff Burton, analyst for NBC Sports, when he says Ross has got to start to clean up some of these mistakes. I tend to think that's right. And I tend to think Jeff Burton is right on most topics, and this one included in that. So I think he does, because here's the problem. You've got some drivers that are going to make it difficult for you. Face it, there's been a couple of dust-ups this year. So you've got some drivers that are going to make it difficult for you. This sport is difficult in itself. You don't need a couple drivers to make it difficult for you, especially if those drivers get eliminated from the playoffs before you do. So I think Ross is coming to his own. I think he's doing so much more right than the little bit of wrong, little bit of challenges he's getting into. But here's the problem. This is Cup Series racing. You've got to be good across the board. You can't put yourself in bad spots, and that's my only concern about Ross Chastain. Now, from a performance standpoint, that is the one driver to me, and Todd Gordon and I, we've talked about this a couple times on our crew call show over on MRN. It's a podcast over on MRN. And this might be one driver who can point his way to the playoffs or to the Final Four because he's running so good. Now, we've learned that pointing your way in that final race is not good, but we also have learned that you don't want enemies in this sport. So I agree with you that Ross Chastain is coming to his own, Eric. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a few things he needs to clean up, but I think and here's the other thing. I think he will. I don't think he will. I know he will. Ross Chastain's a smart guy, and he's a good racer. And so, yeah, I think that's cool. So there you go. Yeah, Matt, I think there's a lot of us that were rooting for Corey LaJoie. I think there really was. All right, let's go. Let's continue on. Matthew, what a great race it was at Road America 2 weeks ago. It was fun, and glad I got a chance to catch up with you briefly there. Always good. All right, the news of the day. Okay. Tyler Reddick to 2311 Racing in 2024. Okay. I have believed this since I met Tyler Reddick, probably met him, maybe even interviewed him in the pits. The first time I met him to really chat with him was in an elevator in a hotel in Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri or Kansas? Missouri. Wait a minute. No, it's Kansas City, Kansas. Okay. That's one of those cities that's right on the border. Oh, it's a great town, by the way. You want good eats? Huh. I'll get off on a tangent talking about good eats in Kansas City, folks. Huh. You kidding me? Man. Anyhow, elevator, doors open, in comes Tyler Reddick. Hey, man, how are you? Boom, 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 chit-chatting down. Get down to the lobby, and we probably chatted 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm just like, wow. That's a stand-up kid. He was driving for Brad Keselowski in the truck program that time. That's a stand-up kid. So I was talking to a few people on that program. They said, man, he is a rock star. This guy, you can build your program around him. Okay? Fast forward a few years later. He goes over to Richard Childress Racing. Okay? He goes to Junior Motorsports, wins an Xfinity Series championship, moves to Richard Childress Racing, running in the Xfinity Series. Okay? I was talking to somebody that was in the program over there. One of the drivers was in the program over there. I said, what's going on with RCR? What's the upside? He says, there's 2 words as to why RCR is this good. First is Tyler, second is Reddick. And I'm like, really? And he said, he's that good. He's that talented. He's that good. He's that good of a worker. He's that good of learning the sport and studying the sport and studying the craft. He's that good. I said, really? And he said, the guy, every team he is going to be with, every team he was with was better. And a lot of the reason it was better is because of him. I've had other people over the course of time here recently, Richard Childress, say that, man, this kid is really the deal. He goes out, finally gets that win, which, face it, if Chase Briscoe doesn't do the old slide for life at Bristol, we'd be looking at the 2 wins for Tyler Reddick, because he had that race pretty much cleared. Well, he didn't have it cleared, just pretty much cleared and cleared is 2 different things, but he didn't have it cleared. So, but he got that win, and he took that win off from Chase Elliott at Road America. So I saw somebody, a buddy of mine, was on one of a Facebook, it was just a friend, said, is he unsettled or is he unwanted? I think it's 100% the opposite. Here's my opinion on what happened. Okay, 2311 is good where they're at. Bubba, Kurt Busch, whether that's the same lineup next year or one of those drivers has changed out. But 2311 put their bullseye on Tyler Reddick, and they went to him and said, what is it going to take? What's your deal? When are you available? And what is it going to take to get your deal? Tyler Reddick, I hope he shot him a big number. I'm assuming he did. And I'm available in 2024. They said, our lawyers will be in touch. And they put the deal together. Tyler Reddick, I believe, was a wanted man in that garage area. And I believe 2 things happened today. I think 2311 staked their claim at their driver going forward for 2024. And I think some other teams in the Cup garage go, he got away from us. I really believe that. That's how much I think of Tyler Reddick. I just think that cat, I think that guy can drive a race car. I think that guy is a tremendous asset in talking to people. And these are drivers, but these are also men and women that work on these cars. He is a huge asset to a team. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on Tyler Reddick going to 2311. Yes, indeed. All right, Brandon's going to Peevely to watch SRX, and then the 5th and 6th for sprint car racing. Do you ever go to Peevely or Tri-City? Brandon, I went to Tri-City for the first time earlier this year when we were out at Gateway. Went up there and watched the MOA sprint cars, and I thought that was great. I've never been to Peevely. I drove by Peevely. I went down to St. Francis in Farmington, Missouri, and watched the sprint cars down there. Peevely was racing that night. They talk about Peevely I-55 Speedway. It's right on the road. I mean, I literally was like, well, maybe if I pull off the side, I can watch a heat race or 2. It's right on the road. But I've never been to Peevely. It's on my bucket list, and you are going to love it. SRX this week, and then the World of Outlaws, the Ironman 55, one of the most epic races in sprint car racing back there on the 5th and 6th. So, Brandon, you are going to love it. And I am glad to hear people are sporting SRX and dirt tracks and sprint car races and all of those. I just think that's awesome. I really do. I really think that's really neat, really good. So, good deal. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Why coming out with now doesn't hurt? No. But here's the problem. Why come out with it now? To stake your claim. Okay? You're sitting here with maybe you're sitting here with what a lot of people in this industry think is the number 1 talent. And right now, you're going to start talking to manufacturers. Toyota's got to be happy with this, but you're also going to be talking to sponsors. You're going to be saying, okay, when's your deal run out over here? It's through 2023. Well, hey, here's Tyler Reddick. Hey, I think it gets interesting what happens with Tyler Reddick and RCR over the course of next year. I think gets interesting. But we've seen those deals work out. We've seen situations where drivers have been notified earlier. I think it makes 2311 look strong. I think 2311 is a brand new race team. Okay. They're a brand new race team, and they have said, we are staking our flag in NASCAR racing, so much so that in 2 years, we're going to have Tyler Reddick and other driver, whether it's Bubba, whether it's Kurt, wherever it is. I didn't read all the finer points, so maybe it was in the release. I don't think it was, but we're staking his ground. I think this makes 23XI look strong. I really do, because they got one of the prized possessions in the garage, and that's Tyler Reddick. All right, there we go. Sprint car question: thoughts on Routine Racing and signing Zeb Wise? Zachary, that's a great question. Within the last hour, I talked to Corey Eliason. Here's the deal with it, and you can catch that conversation with Corey Eliason, with Anthony Macri, and with Bernie Stubjen, who is a crew chief of the Stars and team owner for the Stars. You can catch that on Wing Nation. Wing Nation, you can find out where all podcasts are. We have a YouTube channel, and it'll be dropped on YouTube, I'm sure, later on, but we just recorded that. Performance was not there for Corey Eliason. I mean, his first year, he had 6 wins and finished second in the All-Star points. He had a couple of wins the next 2 years. He finished third in points first year, second and second. This year, he had 1 win. That was back in February, and he was 8th in the All-Star points. You can't go third, second, 8th. The numbers just don't add up. And we can beef and carp about the timing of it mid-season, but the reality of it is, and Corey acknowledged that the performance was not there. And so I always get into this conversation when it comes to silly season, because now everyone has a really unique opportunity. And Corey Eliason is going to be really, really fine, because he's teamed up with Bernie Stubjen, and he's going to run what's the Indy Race Parts number 71, and he very well could win races. He very well could win the Kings Row this weekend, and he very well could win the Knoxville Nationals in that car. How does that change the equation? We're going to be saying, thank God he got rid of that. Thank God Zeb Wise is in that 26 car. That's silly season. I always wrestle with it, and I never judge when decisions are made, because what that allows is that 26, the Rudeen team, to spend the rest of the season. Zeb Wise, maybe he's the answer. If he's the answer, good. They found a good combination. Maybe they find out in a month's time that Zeb wasn't working in the car and want to make another change. Corey, not having a good season, gets a chance to jump in that 71 car, gets a chance, and the 71 car has historically been an extremely good part-time car. Gets in there, maybe goes out and wins a couple races in that car, so that when silly season for real ends at the end of this year, Corey Eliason's the number 1 talent waiting to be plucked by a team. So I hate it for Corey. It was a stable, great ride. The Rudeen car is one of the great cars in the country. I hate it for him, but the performance wasn't there, and it's a performance-based business. And so let's figure this out. We've got 4 months of racing, 2 months of off season to figure this out. Is Zeb the driver for the 26? Where does Corey go? Does the 71 become a full-time team? Does it, so, we get the head start on it. So there you go. Let's see. Okay, what else? News today. With the news today, better new team so far, 23XI or Trackhouse? I say, yeah, Trackhouse. Because we can have all of the announcements in the world, okay? Trackhouse is winning races with both drivers. That's not now. Stay tuned. Do I think Bubba Wallace and Kurt Busch could win races this year? Yes. I think they could win races the next 2 weeks. So, and Kurt has a win earlier this year. So I think right now you've got to say Trackhouse. But here's the problem with this. Okay. To me, Trackhouse is the exception. Name a team that has come into sport and done what Trackhouse has done. I heard some conversation, I think it was on Sirius or somewhere. The only parallel to what Trackhouse has done that anybody that I heard in that conversation could come up with was 1954 or 1955 when a guy named Carl Kiekhaefer came in with the big Oldsmobiles or whatever they were, and the Mercury outboard cars, and came in. When you have to go back to 1955, the year of our Lord, by the way, 1955. I don't know where that comes from, but it's here and it's part of the deal. Here in the year of our Lord 2022. When you have to go back to 1955 for a team to make a debut like it did, the other one that I know there was another one, it was 1986 Hendrick Motorsports when Jeff Bodine won a few races. Okay, So when you have to go back to Hendrick Motorsports in 86 or Carl Kiekhaefer in 1955, I don't know that you can really compare new teams to Trackhouse because that's meteoric. I think the fact that we can I think 2311 has done. I think 2311 has done really, really well, and we would be raving about 2311 as a new team if it wasn't for Trackhouse. That's how good I think 2311 is. I think they're really, really good. I just think Trackhouse is the exception. Trackhouse has been the exception to rules. 86. What is that? 22 and 14. That's 36 years ago. When you got to go back 36 years, and oh, by the way, that's a guy named Rick Hendrick, who's had just a little bit of success in this sport. I think it's comparing to Trackhouse is unfair to anybody else because what Trackhouse, I think that's why we need to enjoy what Trackhouse is doing too, because this is absolutely phenomenal what Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez is doing. I just think it's so cool. I just think it's awesome. So yeah, so Eric, I think it's a great question. I think it's a great question, and I'm with you on that. Trackhouse because of the Trackhouse because of the performances. So fun. Wow. Hey, today's been awesome. Even with all of the, are we on now? Is this thing working? Tapping on the microphone. Is this thing working? Is it not? Finally went over and wrapped on Kyle's speakers in his ears and wrapped on his head. Well, that's what's not working. Technology in the year of our Lord 2022, right? Gotta love it. You gotta love it. So I want to share this with everybody, and I really appreciate this. I feel like I come in here, and as we've done this over the course of times, I feel like I'm sitting down and talking racing with friends. I have got a cool and a sad week coming up here. Okay, I love, if you know me, you know I love my short tracks and my local racetracks, and I have got in my lifetime. I was born in the year of our Lord, 1964. Okay. So what does that make me? 58 years old. Okay. I have had what I consider home tracks, 4 home tracks over the course of time. Tonight, I get the opportunity and the blessing to go out and announce at one of my home tracks, Charlotte Motor Speedway, here in Concord, North Carolina, Summer Shootout. If you're inclined to have Flow Racing, or if you want to subscribe to Flow Racing, you can catch us there. Home track number 1. Tomorrow night, the most recent home track is the little dirt track up between Salisbury and Mooresville, Millbridge Speedway, running micro sprints over the last 3 years. That has become another one of my home tracks. There is no place in the world I would rather be than at Millbridge Speedway when they're running the micro sprints, and so I get to do that. Thursday, heading on the Big Bird, headed to Pennsylvania. Friday night, one of my original 2 home tracks from up home, Penkean Speedway in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania, way up in the northeast corner. Love Penkean Speedway, and I'm going to get a chance to check in at Penkean Speedway. And then Saturday night, probably the track that has the biggest impact on my life, 5 Mile Point Speedway in Binghamton, New York. Back in the day when I was coming up through the year of our Lord, late 60s, and the years of our Lord, early 70s, Penkean, the Friday night track, was sporadic. 5 Mile Point was a rock. And so I would say 5 Mile Point Speedway is the track that I spent the most time as a kid and fell in love with racing. Okay? I said this is going to be an interesting week and a sad week. The sad part about it is that there is an offer, and it's been accepted to sell 5 Mile Point Speedway, and it will no longer be used for racing after this year. So, for lack of a better term, I'm going up to say goodbye to an old friend, and that old friend is a racetrack. Track has been around for 72 years. Businesses that operate for 72 years have overachieved. They have oversucceeded. They have done more than most businesses would dream of doing. The last few years have been a little rough for 5 Mile Point Speedway, and consequently the decision was made that the track needed to be sold. And honestly, in a weird way, it's a decision that I agree with in talking with the owner of the racetrack. I just think that where the world is at, where he's at, everything else, I understand it. That doesn't mean I like the decision, but I think it's the correct decision. And so I'm spending Saturday night going up there. If you want to follow along this journey, I'm going to be documenting some of it on my Twitter account, the Postman68 at the Postman68. And I also have a website called Postman68, And it has been one of the neatest projects I've ever done and one of the slowest growing projects I've ever done. And it's slow growing because of me, because it's a side hustle, side project. And sometimes I have time to devote to it and sometimes I don't. But I'm going to be documenting a fair amount of my weekend, particularly 5 Mile Point, on Postman 68. And I'll channel everyone to that through through my social channels. So if you'd like to follow along with that journey, I would appreciate that. I think racetracks are just such amazing places. I love going to them. Tonight's race at Charlotte will be my 88th race of the year, I think it is. So I get to a few over the course of time, 1 or 2. I love being at racetracks, and I hate the racetracks close. That happens. I'm just very grateful that I get a chance to go pay proper due credit and respect to 5 Mile Point Speedway as it closes at the end of this year. And so follow along with that. Postman68.com is the website. And you're not going to get all the bells and whistles. You're not going to get Jonathan selling you diecast, okay? And I know that's what y'all want. I know Jonathan was just on Circle B Diecast doing the warming the crowd up. I'm warming the crowd up for him, okay? He'll be back on Circle B Diecast, wheeling and dealing here in just a second. It's nothing fancy. It's just kind of where my passion for the sport is. And I really feel like this weekend is something I want to try to document, try to put into words what I'm feeling as I go there. So that's it. Appreciate it. Brandon, I know the one in Benton, Missouri opened up because that's another little bit that you'll have to just wait and see what I'm doing with that too. Yes, it includes Benton, Missouri. I got another idea. But I got to get one idea off my mind after another. I am the world's worst with this stuff, okay? Did y'all hear I started a cooking show? My producer's laughing. Tomorrow at 3:00 in the afternoon on all my social channels, the first episode of my cooking show. I made apple nachos. Yes, made apple nachos. Here's my problem. I'm just going to get totally personal. I have like 8 million ideas. And it's like, yeah, let me do this. Yeah, let me do this. And the one thing this year that I've been better on is saying, okay, let's get one to completion before we jump into 6 more. Okay? So I have all of these ideas with all of these things, Postman 68, Circle B Diecast, MRN, Wing Nation. And I'm like, and then Sage Fruit, my partner, Sage Fruit, see that right there, right there, Sage Fruit right there, got him on my shirt. Sage Fruit, we come up with this idea, and I've always wanted to be one of those chefs on TV, okay? It's not TV. You're coming to a social media channel near you. I've always wanted to do that, and I have a partnership with them. They're great, great partners. And they said, why don't we do a cooking deal? And so I'm doing a cooking show, okay? And so that drops. The first one we recorded 2 last week. I'm recording 2 tomorrow. We're going to do 10 shows over the course of the summer. Every Wednesday at 3 Eastern time, noon Pacific, a new cooking show will drop. How about that? So I don't even see you just listening to this discussion is why you understand why I have all of these projects, because I don't even know where this started. And the next thing I'm talking about is apple nachos in the year of our Lord 2022. Okay. So, but that's how it started. So I'm like, okay, I have got to get something started and going. And my co-host on the show is Casey from Out at Sage Fruit. She's spectacular. She's fantastic. So I said, look, we've got to get this thing going, because if I get into the fall, I lose my mind. So that is up and running. That is going to be done. That's going to be completed. Postman 68, a lot of what I want to do with it is actually I want to try to launch and really kind of delve deeper into my passion for racing. And there's not a better chance to do it than this week at 5 Mile Point Speedway. So the cooking show is up and running. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Oh, you're going to have to check it out on all of my social media channels tomorrow at 3:00. Okay. So then I'm going to work on the Postman 68 a little bit, and then we're going to swoosh right around to Benton, Missouri, and some other places. Stay tuned. You're going to love it. The way things go with me, by about the year of our Lord 2025, you might hear me or see me post something about Benton, Missouri. I know how this works. It's all good. It's all good. Randy says, I spent my childhood at Rolling Wheels And to see that one close down, Randy, I spent a fair amount of Friday nights at one time. I probably went to Rolling Wheels. I've probably been there 25 times. Loved it. Their French fries. You get one of those Hoffman German Frank hot dogs and Rolling Wheel French fries. You got it. It's good stuff. Folks, it's all about passion. Let's see. Did I miss anything? What you got? Great sport. Thank you, Michael. Yes, go to racetrack and cooking. I have to eat. Okay, there we go. All right, anyhow. So I think we've covered it all. I think we've covered more than it all. And we've gone 35 minutes because the first 5 minutes was me talking about this thing not working and this thing working. So I think we've reached. I think we've reached everything. It's been great. It really has been. This is where earlier this year we sat down and I'm just like, I love diecast, but I just don't understand. I mean, I don't have the bandwidth to know that the Chase Elliott Hooters car is coming in October 15th. And don't quote me on that, please. This year of our Lord 2022. That could be 2023. I love the diecast world. And so when Jonathan came in and said, man, all I want to do is sell diecast. I'm like, well, all I want to do is talk racing with my friends. And I think we've really accomplished that because when we get done here, you just need to stay tuned to all these channels because Jonathan is going to be in here wheeling and dealing, and he is making some deals. I logged on. He was in the warehouse. He was in the warehouse out there in Springfield, Missouri. Last night I logged on one time, and oh my gosh, he was selling stuff. He was just rolling out there. He just was fantastic. He was hooting and hollering. Oh, I thought it was Ric Flair for a little bit. I thought it was Ric Flair. He just didn't have the golden blonde hair that the Nature Boy had. So, so I love that we get to sit and chat on Tuesdays and talk racing. That's kind of what I do. My passion for racing, my passion is talking racing, and I feel like a lot of you here now, we've kind of become friends here on this and just having a good time. So we do that, and I love what Jonathan is doing with the selling diecast. Hopefully we can keep the boss man happy, sell a few more. You got to buy a few more. That's what it takes, including that Chase Elliott race winner. I do know that's available. It's about all, but I do know that that's available as well. So, hey, for all your diecast needs, go to www.circlebdiecast.com. CircleBdiecast.com. I'm the Postman from MRN. Thanks for joining us on our Tuesday at 2 visit.